And we're glad to rejoin you from the American Bible Society today here on AFA Today, a division and ministry of America Family Radio. And as I told you before the broadcast started, we had a very high honor to be a part of a screening of a brand new film that I predict is going to touch a lot of people this Christmas season. It's called The Christmas Candle, and it's based on the book by my next guest, who now joins me here at the American Bible Society, author, best-selling author, Max Lucado. Max, welcome to AFA Today. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Kevin. It's really my privilege.
Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the story of The Christmas Candle. For people that have not read the book, when did you write it? How long ago was it in print? And what were you hoping to accomplish by telling this very, very sweet and I found heart-wrenching story about a candle in a town?
Well, I wrote the story in the 2006. It came out, and shared the story even before it was in published form with my friend Tom Newman. And Tom decided early on that this had potential to be a film. And he's been working on this since 2008, and so it's been no small venture on his part. It takes a while, and it took a while, but we're really happy to see it come out. It's a pretty simple story that tells the Christmas story, and which I have found to be a little unique. Many of the Christmas movies tell anything except the Christmas story. They tell a lot about everything except the Christmas story, and so we're happy that this story has embedded within it the Bethlehem narrative and the greatest moment in history, and that's the birth of Christ. And it takes place in a small British village in the 1880s.
There's a lot of biblical narrative parallels. If people are watching, you've got a child that's born, you've got a small town, you've got a number of those elements. Being an author and being someone that has written a lot of stories, how did you feel when they started talking about, let's put this on the movie screen? Was there any hesitation?
Not really. Not really. I knew that I would have opportunity to sign off on the screenplay, which is I've learned is not always the case. But they let me have final, signing off privileges on the screenplay, and so I knew that if it didn't, the screenplay didn't reflect the story, or if it didn't reflect what I wanted it to say, I would simply not sign off on it. And I also knew Tom Newman and his team, how the integrity with which they work and creativity. So I've been optimistic about it the whole time.
There's a lot of people that have looked at the faith-based arts space, and they've said, man, Christians, they've got such a great and important message to tell, but man, they're really blowing it. They've not done such good work. Where's your sense, after being part of this project, about where the current state of faith-based media is, and how would you rank what you experienced here as what you anticipated it being like?
Well, I've learned, number one, that to do it well and to do it right does take a major investment of time and money.
Right.
And to do a nickel and dime version of a story really, I think, does more harm than good. I think if we're going to do it, we ought to do it like hopefully we do everything else with really high quality. But that does eliminate a lot of mom and pop little ventures, that can't that stumble for lack of funding, and that's the key. That's the key. And so I think Tom Newman partnered up with some folks who could put together a really respectable cast. And underwrite a good setting, a good recording, film it in England with some very established production team, and so I think doing it right is it takes some effort, but I think that it's worth it.
What were you most surprised by in watching your film come to screen?
3 or 4 scenes that the screenwriters added because the book itself was a bit short. They wanted to expand it. 3 or 4 scenes really, I think, make the movie special. And I'm a little hesitant to disclose the scenes because I don't want to.
We don't want to give the story away,
but there's some times, it's a story of a reverend.
So let me just see if I understand what you're saying. Screenwriters can play a role in improving an author's work.
Oh, the movie is much better than the book. It really is. Yeah. It's
wow,
much
the great Max Lucado said that. That's
oh no, it's much
that's
better.
Both convicting and humbling.
They should have written the book.
No, I doubt that. I doubt that. Maybe you've got a question for Max Lucado. We can take some calls, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. But Kevin McCullough, AFA Today, and we're at the American Bible Society in the atrium having this conversation about a very sweet movie. It's in theaters nationwide this coming Friday. So I asked you what was most surprising. What was most disappointing to you about a story coming to film? And let me say that from someone who reads. Oftentimes, if I've read a book before a film, I feel like when they put the characters on screen, then they're no longer the characters that were in my imagination, and sometimes that is disappointing. But sometimes they do better than what I saw originally when I read the book.
You know, I really can't say there was anything that was profoundly disappointing. Early on, I saw a very one of the first cuts of the movie, which meant that there were a lot of the special effects
had not been added. Yeah.
And I remember watching that thinking, oh boy, this is going to fall flat. And then when they added the special effects, I said, okay, it worked.
Oh, there you go.
So it was interesting watching a movie develop. I knew nothing, and I still know so little about movie development. I didn't know, for example, that they don't film all the scenes in sequence in the movie. Yeah, I thought, well, what are they doing filming this already? It's not to the last scene in the movie. So I knew so little. And,
where was it shot?
it was shot in the Cotswolds in England.
Okay.
Yeah.
For people that are not familiar with the story, I would say, after having seen the screening, it's kind of Dickens meets Downton Abbey for Christmas.
There you go. I like that.
If that's a fair comparison,
yeah.
I thought that was very much what, and very sweet performances. I think Samantha Barks just really did well, and the young man Hans
Matheson.
Yeah, just a real believable character, but there was some legit. There was some legit heavy hard hitters in here from Hollywood. I recognize a number of the faces, though I can't tell you who actors are by face routinely.
I'm kind of the same way. I'm not either. And this is all British crew.
Right.
And so that'd be even more.
Which is what Christmas is supposed to be. There's something about British accents at Christmas that just make it better.
That's right. You don't go to South Texas where I live and film a Christmas movie.
Well, native Texan here, I got to admit, it's we have our own version of Christmas, but it's not that sweet, almost fairy tale like story. One theme that I was very taken by, and maybe this was in the book, and please forgive me for not having read the book, but there's a subtle sub-emphasis on the season of Advent. And I want to ask Max Lucado, the writer, the thinker, was that on purpose? Is Advent something that's lost in the modern church in the discussion of Advent year to year? There's a lot of, in this non-denominational, we don't want to be too identified by anything kind of Christian movement that exists. I found it refreshing to see the explanation of the Advent candles as Hans was preaching through the season.
Yes, it's been lost. Yes, it was intentional. And yes, I agree that we're missing out by not. There's something behind traditions, and I know that we grow weary of certain traditions and they lose their edge. But there's always a reason behind a tradition, right? And so the Anglican Church Fathers established the Advent calendar on purpose to remind people of the major messages of the Christmas season. I understand that a lot of the liturgical and Advent calendars and those types of things were written because many of these rural churches did not have professional, quote-unquote, Bible teachers.
Right.
And so a farmer needed help in what to organize for the service. But And so as churches become more and more, sophisticated or more professional, the preacher, the local pastor says, "Oh, well, I know what we're supposed to say at Christmas.
I've got this.
I don't need what the Anglicans tell me to do." And so it gets abandoned. Yeah, I understand that too. But there was a reason behind it. There was some good thinking behind it. There were some good godly people who said the 5 weeks leading up or the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, we need to celebrate the hope, the peace, the love, and the presence of Jesus. We need to light a candle to symbolize that. So that was what was happening in the 1880s in rural England for sure. And we've readopted that in our church in San Antonio. It's a wonderful tradition.
If you had the opportunity to amplify one theme of Christmas to the larger culture, this season and the seasons to come, what would you want that to be?
It would be the message that God still does uncommon things through common people in common places. I think that's the message of Bethlehem. I think that's the promise of Christmas. It's really the gospel, you know, that God will do uncommon things like salvation through common people in common places. You're never too common, situations never too ordinary for God to do an extraordinary thing.
There's a little bit of a slant on when the setting of the story is pitched historically. It's right at the turn of candle power to electrical power, and there's a little bit of a slant of technology being of the devil or of something that's not of godliness. We look at that and we watch that today and we kind of giggle at it. But that was a real argument historically.
It was a real thing. And doesn't that always happen when kind of the next wave of modernization comes out?
Well, I was about to ask you. We're sitting here in the American Bible Society, and they've redone this room that we are in. This is the second time I know of since it's gone in, and they have iPads with researchable biblical information spread throughout this atrium that we're in. And I was going to ask you, do church people still view technology with a little bit of suspicion, do you think?
Well, I think the church is doing a very admirable job of taking advantage of the internet and the just today I've had 2 or 3 conversations with people who are creating television programs for the internet. And to be honest, I don't watch television on the internet, but I'm told that younger people do a lot of their television on demand watching. They don't want to sit down like my wife and I do in front of a couch. They want to sit down in front of an iPad or an iPhone, and that's where they receive their media. Well, thank you, Lord, that you've got some people who are keeping up with all of that. And so I think we're doing a pretty admirable job, it seems. There may be those who know it a lot better who'd say we're behind the times. I don't think there's the threat or the anxiety about it that we might have seen in the church in the 1800s about electricity.
Well, on AFA Today, through American Family Radio, which is one of those groups that has, I mean, Don Wildman did think way far in advance by way of internet delivery and so forth. People are hearing us. They're seeing us through an internet television channel, the American Family Channel. That also happens to be on some television networks. But a lot of people are listening on listening apps on their in-car devices, on their iPads, on their iPhones. If you want to get American Family Radio in the New York area, you have to listen to it on the app because it's not there's no station up here. But it is an interesting thing, and as I've seen the different levels, even in my short life, of technology change, I have run up against some of those things from time to time where people say, well, you know, I'm not too sure about that. Even when Facebook came in, I remember my senior pastor not even 10 years ago saying, oh, well, I'm never going to join Facebook because, you know, I'll get stuck looking at somebody's baby pictures for 10 days. And it wasn't 2 years later that he was not only a member of Facebook, but he was looking at people's baby pictures all day instead of doing the work that he was supposed to do.
I was hesitant to get in on Twitter. But some people convinced me that...
Did hashtags scare you?
Yeah, well, I just didn't get it. I still don't quite get it, but here's what I know.
I don't either, if we're confessing things.
If I send out a little inspirational word today, it costs me absolutely nothing to send a message that, according to subscribers, goes to 800,000 people.
Yeah.
How do you beat that? You know, that's a lot of money you'd have to raise to send out an inspirational message. And so taking advantage of these modern opportunities is worth doing.
What's next for Max Lucado? What are you working on? What's God putting on your heart to tell your people in San Antonio and to put into your next book or into your next things that you're working on right now?
Well, I had a book come out this fall that I've been working with, doing a lot of teaching out of. It's called You'll Get Through This. And it's a study of the life of Joseph in the Old Testament. And the purpose of the book is to help people just get through tough times, to help walk them through tough times. The truth is...
Did Joseph know something about that?
Oh, boy. Famous
betrayal,
that's right, the
abandonment.
Pit, thrown in a pit, falsely accused,
right.
You know. But he got through it.
He did.
And his famous statement is that what was intended for evil, God used for good. And that's what I try to make the message of the book. We're never promised the absence of evil. But God always promises to take that evil and turn it into something good.
Amen, amen. Well, Max, best wishes on the Christmas Candle. Now, it is coming out this next Friday, and friends, if you're watching or listening, what we want you to do is we want you to go to the website, thechristmascandlemovie.com. That's a long URL. You do know about URLs, Max, don't you?
I am what?
Yes. Thechristmascandlemovie.com. But you can find the closest theaters. I heard that it's opening on 400 screens.
That's
Are you
correct.
satisfied with that? Is that
I
exciting?
think we're very, very happy with that.
Working in the media business, I know a little bit about P&A, and I know that if you get it on a few hundred screens, it has the potential to bump up to a few thousand within the next couple of weeks. If people go this weekend and they really like it, they need to bring people back the following week.
Yeah, I hope they will. And I hope, if you're looking for a little Christmas lift, if you want a story to take you back to the message of Christmas as you head into the Christmas season, I think this movie's a great way to do that, and to take people to, take your friends to, take your family to.
This is one of those films, if I was going to describe it to an unsaved person, I would say, this is the kind of Christmas film that you're not going to find an ounce of anything to offend you by, but there's also not going to be any Santa or reindeer or Frosty or any of that nonsense that Christmas has gotten too much of in recent days as well. So I really do want you to go check it out. It was one of the sweetest modern Christmas films I've seen. I can't wait to show my family. My wife was actually very jealous. She was like, "You get to go see a Christmas film for work today? That's part of your work today?" I said, "Yeah, for the first couple of hours of it." So.
Kind of funny to go to a movie first thing in the morning. Right?
It was, but I was nice and awake through the whole thing, so that was good. Max Lucado, thank you for being with us. Kevin McCullough, AFA Today, we're so glad to have you with us. Stay with us. Another special guest is headed our way next here at the table at the American Bible Society. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us here on AFA Today on AFR Talk.